Hello, welcome to Nikon Report, your weekly roundup of all the latest Nikon news and all other photographic announcements that we found interesting. Konstantin here.
And this is Becky.
How are you, Becky? Did you enjoy the firmware version 2.0 on Nikon Z8 that they released literally after we recorded the podcast? Thank you, Nikon.
That's right. Thank you so much for keeping with our scheduling, Nikon. Yes, I love all of the excitement and the features that were added. I wish that I had a Z8 just to see the difference, but you did a really good job of covering the news there, so I don't think we necessarily need to repeat ourselves. All we can say is that if you have a Z8 and you haven't updated your firmware, definitely go and do that. It is well worth it.
Exactly. I like that feature and that feature and that other feature that they've added to the new firmware. So it's all really good. But if you haven't seen our previous week's podcast, then definitely check it out. I had to record an emergency broadcast in the middle of the podcast, so it's all in there. Now, in conjunction with this firmware release, they also updated their software, and you need to update your Nikon software if you use it in order to use things like pixel shift and in order to get better tethering with your camera. So make sure if you use Nikon software, you update to those. So Nikon NX Studio was updated to version 1.60. What did they add, Becky?
So they added support for the new Z8 firmware, which makes a lot of sense. They also added support for macOS Sonoma version 14, that they ended support for Big Sur, which is version 11. That's a few operating systems ago. They've also improved the filtering operation when the show sequences a single images setting is disabled. Very specific, but fine. Then they fixed the following issues: that you could not enable PF flare control for a picture taken with the 600mm 6.3Z lens. Only useful if you have a 600 6.3Z lens, obviously. If NX Studio was started without network connection, an error message was shown. I have been witness to that. Picture taken with clarity set to auto and contrast to -3 with a D5, D850, D500, and D7500 were not displayed correctly. So if you have any of those cameras, again, very specific, then do update your NX Studio just to be on the safe side.
All right, if you didn't understand any of it, I didn't understand it either. But then we move on to NX Tether, where we're going to read another bunch of things that we can't understand. So NX Tether was actually updated to version 2.0, so it's a big jump from the previous version. So a part of, obviously, adding the support of new macOS system and adding the old one, adding the support of Z8. They also added camera live view into the NX Tether. So now you can actually see what your camera sees on your screen. But a part of this, there's actually been a good update because they also add a bunch of Camera Control Pro 2 features.
Yes, they did, such as configuration of a wide variety of camera settings, live view display during remote tethered shooting, support for video recording, and the software actually helps increase efficiency for solo photographers working unassisted in a studio setting. So whether you're shooting handheld or for commercial products, by enabling the output to be confirmed with the client on a large monitor while proceeding with the shoot, you can now do that. They have also allowed you to configure a variety of camera settings that can be configured remotely from a computer. And in addition to that, the user interface, or UI as they sometimes call it, has been designed for maximum ease of use. So it offers an organized layout of various functions, all to do with tethered shooting. If you are a tethered shooter, you're a solo photographer in the studio, then this could actually be a really handy tool for you.
Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit. So obviously, there are paid tethering software options available. So Capture One Pro is probably the most famous one, but obviously even Camera Control Pro 2 that is made by Nikon is a paid software which you have to pay for. So having NX Tether, which is essentially free, it's a great option if you're a Nikon user. Maybe it's not as good if you're a Capture One Pro user, let's say for your specific needs. But for a lot of us who using tethering on occasions, really, I think it's a very viable option and it's free, which is quite important to remember when we talk about bits of software like this.
That's right. I think that obviously there are some people who will be die-hard Lightroom users and will say, well, you can shoot Tether with that. But the amount of options that the free NX Tether software now allows you to have is really impressive for an unpaid piece of software. So I'm happy that Nikon are adding this. In addition to that, Camera Control Pro 2, which is their paid tethering software, technically, has also had an update. So again, they've added support for the new Z8 firmware. They've added support for the new macOS Sonoma version 14, ended support for Big Sur, and they have fixed an issue that you wouldn't be able to immediately exit Camera Control Pro 2 if you turned the connected camera off after starting Camera Control Pro 2. So an oddly specific thing. Makes sense that they fixed that. But if you do have that paid software and you have a Z8, then obviously do the update just to make sure that everything is talking to each other.
All right. A part of the software releases, Nikon also announced that Nikon Z9 went to International Space Station and now floating freely in a zero gravity.
That's right. So the International Space Station has apparently been equipped with a large batch of Nikon Z9 cameras as the astronauts there prepare to fully retire the DSLRs that have served as the primary systems in orbit for years. So Nikon says that 13 Z9 cameras, 15 FTZ2 adapters, and more than 15 Z lenses, including super telephoto and macro lenses for those really tiny space rocks, were all launched to the International Space Station in January aboard the 20th Northrop Grumman Commercial Resupply Services mission for NASA.
Is it a Tony Northrop Grumman Commercial Resupply Services mission of NASA or not?
I did think you were going to ask that. No relation. I don't think he has his own rockets for resupplying NASA and the International Space Station.
He's everywhere.
That's right.
So apparently that's basically replacing the current inventory that NASA has at the International Space Station, which is Nikon D5s and D6s cameras. Apparently D5s has been in service above Earth since 2017. So a part of this, Nikon created a special firmware for astronauts and just to kind of address the issues that you may have in space that us, Earth people, never encountered. So apparently that includes expanding noise reduction to faster shutter speeds to account for constant bombardment of cosmic radiation the crew and gear are subject to about the space station. So here you have it, folks. Apparently the shelf life of those cameras is not that long, because if you read the PetPixel article, they asked astronaut Don Petit, who basically said that bombarded with cosmic rays, the sensor become damaged, and giving them about 6 months shelf life. So these Nikon Z9s were launched last month, effectively will be replaced with the next batch in summer. I never knew that. That's very interesting and very expensive.
It is very expensive. I'm actually really impressed that they've managed to get, I guess, D5s and D6s up until very recently. I'm just trying to think, if the D5s only lasted 6 months and they've had D5s up there, obviously not the same ones, but that means they were still able to get hold of brand new D5s for the last year?
No, I think maybe they were just bringing them back to Earth and just part exchanging them towards D6s.
Maybe. Part exchanging them with their cosmic ray.
And radiation on it. And with the time lapses, they use probably 1 billion of shutter activations.
Free space dust with every second-hand camera.
Well, Grace of us Mr. can supply to NASA if they get in touch. We can do that for sure.
Right.
You know, we can supply you 15 Z9s every 6 months, and I can go on holiday after those shipments.
All right, now to some news that perhaps we're not all jumping for joy about, but Con is.
Well, we're back to Earth, right? And I just got to take out my calculator, really, more than anything else. We're going to look at Nikon third quarter financials right now, and we're going to try to make it under 1 minute. So basically, realistically speaking, if you look at imaging revenue, is about 15% up. Profit is a bit up. A lot of it to do with exchange rates and increased amount of units they sold. They say that ZF and Z8 are selling really, really well. So high margin, low volume. So they don't seem to sell their lower range products. So that's what they say. They also forecast quite a big bump in terms of sales in the fourth quarter, which is from basically January till end of March. I'm not sure how they account for this, because obviously the third quarter includes the Christmas sales. The fourth quarter really kind of anything after Christmas is generally slow. So I'm not sure why they're accounting for this, but it's interesting. Maybe they're planning to launch the new product right now. Who knows? But you know, if the problem is when you launch the product, even let's say today, then they're still going to be about 2 to 4 weeks in terms of shipments. We're going to wait for shipment and send them out, and then the product is going to be out of stock. So I'm not sure how they planning to sell more units in the fourth quarter, but I guess we'll figure it out in April when the new financials come out. What do you think?
I guess so. I think that you went over a minute, just so you know.
And didn't look at the slides at all. You see, so this is all commentary, okay? So nothing there, but we've linked you to the full PDF. You can have a look at this. Technically, it's very similar to the previous report. So, in terms of revenue, in terms of sales all over the world, it's all about the same. But the good news is that Nikon effectively is up year on year. It's not all doom and gloom. So, yeah, here you have it, folks.
Here you have it, folks. Let's all go to rejoinder.
All right. So from Nikon financial reports to third-party news, which start with camera umbrellas are now available for sale. Now you can buy an umbrella for your camera. It's going to mount on a hot shoe and will protect it from rain. What do you think, Becky? Is that the best accessory of 2024?
I mean, I didn't think that this was a new concept. I was sure that these had existed in the past. I'm actually really intrigued as to why this is suddenly a thing. But sure, based on the weather that we've been having in the UK for the last couple of weeks, where we've essentially had rain every single day, this definitely could come in handy. And if you don't want to get your camera wet, don't want a camera umbrella, then there are other solutions. There's an emergency rain cover by the lovely folks at Think Tank. They have one. There's a few other options out there if the umbrella is not really your vibe.
But yeah, I mean, I never knew I needed this, but now the order has been placed. So that's very important. I actually ordered 2, one for me and one for you, Becky, So obviously I will order a lot of them for all my cameras because now we can go for a walk and everyone will have an umbrella. But also if umbrella for your camera is not enough, you can also buy an umbrella for your head. And I've just linked a few. Obviously, you can get my favorite one, which is effectively a rainbow one, but you can also get one in khaki as well. So if you are a wildlife shooter, that would be very, very useful. Now on to the lenses.
Yes, now on to some more sane news. Viltrox will announce 4 new lenses for the Z-mount this year, according to Nikon Rumours. They have listed 4 options here. We've got the 40mm f2.5, which would be released in the Sony E, Nikon Z, and Fuji X mount. I assume that then that is an APS-C lens by the looks of things. Then we've got a 56mm f1.7, again, presumably APS-C for the E, Z, and X mounts. Then we've got a 16mm f1.8Z, which excites me. Could this be our short, stubby? I don't know, 16mm 1.8 makes it sound like it's going to be big, but anyway. So we've got one of those. And then last up, they've got their own version of the 135 f1.8. So lots coming out of Viltrox this year.
Yeah, I don't know why this information came out so early in the year. I would personally love to be surprised instead of knowing what's going to happen. Imagine Nikon would tell us we're going to release this, and this, and this. And then all the rumor websites are just going to post nothing really. There's not going to be any article. I mean, they will obviously clearly post the articles like, oh, this software company released another update. Here's affiliate links. But a part of this, I mean, what are you going to write about?
Who knows? But to be honest, this is a rumor from a rumor website. So this kind of proves your point a little bit.
Yeah, what are we going to talk about, Becky? If there's no rumors, what do you think? I mean, what are we going to do? I might start to just farm sheep and just grow some plants because I won't spend time on my computer, maybe enjoy just time with my family. I don't know.
Could actually put the computer down, put the camera down, go and tend to your garden.
Maybe even take some pictures, I mean, because I can't really take any images now because that 6.3 is not out. So it's like, I don't know. It would be a very different world.
Such a dilemma. Well, I don't know how to round off this topic.
I mean, I'm sad. I just imagined that world and I'm just sad, I'm just sad.
So sad.
I can't continue.
I don't know.
We should have a minute of silence, for no
have a minute
rumors
of
world.
Silence for the non-rumors website world. No, I will say, I think that some people probably would like the idea of us all knowing what's going to come out well ahead of time, just so that they can plan and budget for the year and one thing and another. But I think we do pretty well. I think that if you understand the cycles that camera manufacturers work in, you know, how long the release cycle is and phasing out the old model and putting the new model on the market is, then you have a pretty good guess of what's potentially going to come out. So we don't need the rumor websites to tell us everything in advance. But it is interesting that they found, it's almost like they got some roadmap from Viltrox and just thought they would post it. Who knows? We don't normally see stuff like that, so it's a bit of an odd one.
Odd one indeed. Now on to Weekend Read and Watch. First one up, we have visiting the Nikon Museum and the History of Nikon by Taylor Jackson.
Yeah, it's a YouTube video. You should go watch it.
You know who else talked about Nikon history? Me and Gray last Friday. Well, mainly it was Gray who talked and I listened and I learned a lot. But we talked about the early days of Nikon and how it all happened to be. So definitely check this out. I will put the link in the description below.
Excellent. And then Steve Perry interviewed two of Nikon's engineers, Koichi Oshita and Hiroyuki Ishigami, who sit on the front line of Nikon's optics division. And he talked to them about NIKKOR's 90th anniversary. Most of you will know Steve Perry from his very successful blog and YouTube channel, Backcountry Gallery. So he's there with an exclusive interview, and definitely well worth a read.
Yeah, and that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us this week. It's been probably the shortest podcast we ever made, but with no rooms around, there's nothing to talk about. What are we going to talk about? Photography? I mean...
Yes, thank you very much for watching and or listening. Please give us a like and a subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're following on a podcast platform, give us a rating, a review, a follow. I think there's other things you can do on there too. But anyway, all of that, please, would be hugely appreciated.
Yeah, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and Shopify of the world. Definitely check us out. Leave us a review in there. It's all in audio, high definition quality, which means you don't need to see our pretty faces, but you can listen to us anyway.
That's right. And if you'd like to find us on the internet, you can find us on Instagram. We sometimes post pictures on there. I'm at Rebecca_Danese. The shop is at Nikon @Grays.
And I'm at Konstantin Becky. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.